I'm recording here. Hello, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I'm here today with my great friends, Aaron and Tyler, who are the podcast creators of Journey to Truth. And I've been on their show a few times, and we've known each other for years. We've met up at events. And I'd just like to hand it over to you guys to just talk a little bit about your journey and what sort of podcast you do. And we're going to talk about an event coming up that I'll be a part of, Secret Space Conference. But we're going to go into some other topics and we'll share some information about that. And it's just really important because the kind of guests that are invited, there's going to be a lot of new disclosures and a lot of new stuff from me that I've learned about Eisenhower and things that he set up in his administration, a lot more than I even thought that will be brought to the table. And so, yeah, we'll kind of discuss it at the end, but we're going to jump into some topics. They're very, very thorough in their research. They have their own experiences and they do amazing podcasts. So I really suggest that people sign up and subscribe so that you can check out their content. So I just kind of want to hand it over to you to introduce yourselves, a little bit about yourself and the vast sort of terrain of information that you guys bring forward. And we'll kind of talk about the current things that are going on in the here and now and what your thoughts are. So take it away, Tyler, and then Aaron.
All right. Well, thank you for that beautiful intro. Thank you for the beautiful intro. We're happy to be here. And yeah, you said it great, a vast terrain of information. That's the one thing I love about what we've created is how diverse we are in our information. I know lately we've tended to lean more towards things like the secret space program and ufology and stuff like that. But there's no limits or no boundaries to what we cover. So it's been an incredible journey. We had no idea that we would end up here today, doing shows with you and just the amazing people that we get to talk to all the time and the conversations that just are, just based on the comment section alone under our videos, they're helping people. It's, helping people all over the world. And it's an amazing thing to be a part of that. So we're just excited to be doing something we never thought we would be doing, but we're not stopping now.
Well, thank God that you guys are doing it because you have such a neutrality about the way you present material and you have such high integrity that it's always just so incredible to work with you. And it's not easy to find that sort of ability to hold neutrality, especially when there's so much conflict that happens, in the community because of, there's going to be infiltration inevitably in this kind of field. But anyway, thank you for sharing that. Aaron, tell us a little bit about yourself and this podcast and anything you want to share about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us on. We started the podcast almost exactly 3 years ago. Just wanting to get it out there, get our thoughts and information out there and just kind of make a difference in the community and the world. And but we had no idea it was going to take off like it did, and it's been the biggest blessing, and it's been so amazing. And we've had amazing people like yourself and so many others we've been blessed to have on. And Tyler and I both feel like we've grown so much over the past few years from the podcast, from doing it. And we've gotten some amazing feedback from people that have said it's helped them a lot. And that's the biggest blessing ever to hear that. So yeah, it's been incredible. And the world has gotten crazier since then. And it's very, on one sense, it's getting crazier and more chaotic and all these scary things seem to be happening, right? And it's easy to get caught up in the fear, and a lot of people are, unfortunately. But as you grow spiritually, you're able to stay centered in your heart, and it doesn't matter how crazy things get on the outside. You're able to stay in that space, and that's what is going to make all the difference on the planet, is to be the change, be the vibration, be the embodiment of everything that we want to have manifested here and what we want to create. And I feel like I sense that happening on a massive scale right now as well. And it's so beautiful to see. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out and where we're headed here as a collective on the planet. But I can't wait to find out and be a part of it. So.
And that's such an incredible point. I mean, to me, the Great Awakening is really unplugging from the matrix, not being a food source, not having our creative channels infected by the propaganda and the indoctrination and all the different tactics that keep us sort of locked into the dark agendas, because, you know, we're feeding it or allowing our belief systems to almost enable it and co-create it. And we don't need to do that. We can be fully sovereign. We can be aware. We can understand the larger picture. And we're going to create something very different when we're doing that, because there is such a thing as ascension, really based in our connection with nature and spirit and what it means to advance ourselves as humans, which they want to prevent us from being able to do. And this is what I love about your podcast, because understanding the larger picture and things like secret space programs is really important. We want to know what's operating behind the scenes that's controlling this individuals in these leadership positions and this larger sort of negative ET agenda, but also the kind of support and assistance that we're getting, while also appreciating the fact that, you know, we're here to save ourselves and to, you know, step up to the plate. And it's really important to step up to the plate. So Tyler and Aaron, talk to us about just being aware of that larger picture and the things that are being kept from humanity and the benefit of understanding these things so that we can be more conscious and mindful in our everyday thoughts and actions that we take.
This is my favorite topic, the bigger picture, the grand scheme of things, because once you understand and come to the realization that things like the secret space program and all kinds of Black projects exist, it really helps paint a better picture on what we're seeing. It gives us a better idea. It helps us understand and make sense of the chaos on the surface. And once you understand what's going on behind the scenes, and what's happening behind the scenes is actually, here, let me rephrase that. What's happening on the surface is a result of what's happening in things like the secret space program. So, and if you understand what's going on there, and that we've been in space since the 30s and 40s, and, you know, who knows what's been taking place since then. But a lot of these wars and things that we see playing out, they have a deeper meaning than just the surface level issues, these fabricated issues that we get pumped through the mainstream, you know, because that's not really what's happening. We know, like, it's unfortunate that we have a media that's been lying to us for so long. We can't just take anything at face value, you know. Believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear is a great quote. It's true, because you never know what to believe these days.
I know it's crazy, and it's so important to know what's going on behind the scenes and the type of dark technology being used as well, and how this technology is really like making it difficult for people to think from their higher mind and their intuition. We're blasted constantly, and it's pretty scary to think of like things like 5G and what the chemtrail programs have done, the things that we've been inhaling in our system to create sort of an antenna to the AI. But spirit overrides all of this and can neutralize this, as far as I'm concerned. But we need to know, we need to be aware. So Aaron, what are your thoughts like about understanding that bigger picture and how it relates to navigating the human realm?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler nailed it. It's there's so much going on. The real stuff is basically all going on kind of behind the scenes. And what I mean by behind the scenes is what we see, like Tyler said, what we see in the mainstream media, what the government is telling us, what all of these kind of mainstream institutions on our planet are kind of this fake surface level thing that's most of them had all been infiltrated by these dark forces that have been enslaving the planet for a long time and humanity. So when you understand that, it's pretty obvious that you're not going to get any semblance of reality or truth from any of that. So you have to, on an information level, you have to dig for it yourself to get the truth. Or when you understand the bigger picture, you start to see, based on what is happening kind of on the surface level of the planet, it all makes sense. And you see the underlying causes of things and why things are happening, and the kind of like shadow war that's going on, especially right now. And on one sense, yeah, there's a war going on, but the bigger reality of that is the ascension of the planet and of humanity, and the awakening, in which it's all connected. It's all connected to each other. So it's like the energies coming in, we're moving through these energies, and the planet's ascending. And since we're on the planet, we're either going to ascend, or we're going to have to go somewhere else, or this body will perish and we'll go somewhere else. It's pretty much that simple. So what's happening with the dark controllers that have been here for a long time, and they really have gone unchallenged for a really long time, and it's been kind of smooth sailing for them, and they haven't had to deal with any kind of awakening or resistance for a really, really long time. And this is the first time ever that that's been happening, and they're freaking out because they're losing control, and too many people are waking up, and too much truth's getting exposed, and they're being taken out on multiple levels. This is a multi-dimensional thing. It's not just humans, and it's not even just physical ETs. There's a big spiritual and multi-dimensional kind of war going on. But ultimately, it's the light. It's almost like calling it a war is almost like not even accurate, because that would be like saying the dark has a chance against the light, which is ridiculous. Like, it doesn't, because
I love that.
It's nothing. The dark, ultimately, all there is the light. All there is love and source, and the dark is just like kind of like a resistance to that. So it's not even necessarily a force in and of itself. So when you understand that, there's fear doesn't exist. It's an illusion. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's all just programming. And when we can get out of fear, our true nature is love. So we don't even have to really try. We just have to undo this programming and move into our true selves, and then we will naturally move into love, and we will naturally not be able to be controlled and manipulated, mind controlled, and all the rest, and which is what we're moving out of. So as the awakening happens, all that is naturally kind of falling away. All these old control systems and programming and manipulation and all that, it's all kind of naturally falling away. But as it's happening, there's this chaos happening, because you have the old structures and the old control system, these dark forces that are trying to hang on for dear life, because we're their food source. So if we get out of their frequency of control, there goes they're done. They can't exist, because they need us to survive. So they're kind of like doing everything they possibly can, just scrambling to hold on to whatever they have left. And it's inevitable that it's all happening. It's just a matter of like, they're trying to delay to hold on as long as they can, and cause as much chaos and fear as they can to prolong it. And that's kind of what we're seeing happening right now.
Right. I like what we just did an interview with Daryl James and Rebecca Rose. They're both going to be speaking at our conference, but Daryl, the way he put it was like, so the cabal has a 30-year plan. They had a 30-year plan to roll out all the stuff that we're seeing now. They're being forced into rolling it all out into a 2-year plan. All at once. Exactly. So it's just like right now we're being bombarded, because they're being forced to make counter moves right now because of everything you just described. And that was a beautiful description, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. And it's the psyops. I mean, it's all the psychological, manipulation and creating these false flag events to throw us into trauma. And when we're in trauma or fear, we're in our survival chakra and we can't think straight. And that's why all of this is very engineered. All the world wars and all the things that we see on the world stage is really just to keep us in a low vibration of trauma and panic, and that problem reaction solution, where they come in and save the day to the very problems and
that they created.
Yeah, and that's really their tactic. And once we understand the game being played, then we're no longer unconscious, because that's why they want to keep things like the secret space program secret, right? So let's kind of talk about the importance of the secrecy, and how disclosure, when it comes from the right source and the right people like you guys and myself and others, that once light is shown on this shadow stuff, then in a way we're not dealing with the darkness where these things hide. We're able to embrace our own darkness, do that shadow work, and experience transformation and alchemy, where we integrate the polarity of light and dark, understanding that our true dark is like the womb, the soil, and the creative cauldron, where that darkness can birth realities that are much better than the ones that we're being given. And I don't mean to kind of ramble on about that, but talk to us a little bit about the tactic of like secrecy. And I know that it kind of goes along with everything we've been talking about, but the secret space program, people are only looking at like NASA or, the different events that they choose to televise. Tell us a little bit about some of the guests. You've got Johann Fritz, you've got Dan Cooper, you've got Rebecca Rose. Tell us a little bit about how much it takes for a person to remember like 20 and back, to recall these memories, to be able to deliver this kind of information, and just the kind of guests that you've chosen to bring in. And we don't have to talk about me because people are familiar if they are watching.
Yeah, we're not talking about you.
But yeah, talk a little bit about the other guests, and we'll leave me out of it.
Starting with the secrecy part of it, secrecy is good for business for them. Like they can't operate unless it's in secrecy.
It's crucial. It's not just good. It's crucial for them to operate and to.
Yeah. So secrecy is good for business. Transparency isn't. Obviously, they literally can't operate if they're being transparent. So, and that's been their game the whole time. And now that's all starting to be exposed. And it's just, like Aaron said, it's a big, gigantic mess right now. But when we have people coming forward now with these memories of these programs, this is something that I've been talking about a lot. These people who are coming forward now, they were taken 20, 30, 40 years ago and brought into these programs. And that means we've had this technology at least that long. And these 20 and back age regression technologies and stuff, they had to be in an experimental phase back then. So I think part of the reason why people are remembering this stuff is because they had no way of knowing how long these memory wipes were going to last. And they didn't take into account the fact that we were moving into these new energies, which were just uprooting everything and bringing everything to the surface, including suppressed memories. They didn't consider that. They didn't factor that in when they started these programs. And now I wonder what they're thinking. You got to imagine there's a group of people monitoring every single one of our interviews and every single one of these whistleblowers, seeing what they're remembering, seeing what's being exposed. Like James Rink, they just had his entire YouTube channel taken down, but he fought it and they got it back up. But why? Because if the secret space program isn't real, that's all he talks about. That's all he talks about on that show. So if he says something on that show that it goes against,
why is that a threat if it's not real?
Exactly. And
by the way, this is all fiction, everybody, right? Okay.
Yeah. This is all
channel. Like we're just
all fantasy make believe.
Yeah. Okay, keep going, Tyler.
Yeah, no, it's real. I don't care. We have so many people now trying to make a mockery of the secret space program, unfortunately. And then we have these people, fake whistleblowers and stuff, trying to muddy the waters. And it's all by design, controlled opposition. They want to make something, they want to make a real program laughable with a fake narrative, if that makes any sense.
Totally. And when they do that, it creates sort of this ridiculousness where you can't take it seriously, and it's the same thing with so many categories in life where, some of the new age deceptions make real astrologers, people that aren't in the new age deceptions, look bad or not taken seriously or lumping us into a category. And we saw that with the whole kind of blue chicken cult where there was a ridiculousness to it. And we won't get into that, but where others are planted in order for people, and that's a psyops, almost like the flat earth, but we don't have to get into that. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on it, but what are your thoughts about what Tyler just shared, Aaron, about the secrecy and about also these tactics to make it all look ridiculous?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to when you understand the nature, the truth of what is happening, that we live on a planet that's controlled by these psychopaths and these dark rulers. And there's all this real stuff, like real as in like higher technology, there's ETs, there's so much happening out of our perception behind the scenes that's hidden. And the dark controllers keep us in this false Truman Show matrix reality to keep us enslaved, keep us ignorant of all that, and then also of our own power, because if we find out about either of those things, the whole system will start crumbling. So yeah, and then they set up these fake things like NASA as if that's the space program and that's all we have, and it's a joke. Rockets and gasoline,
conventional methods.
Yeah, like it's a joke that it's like we're supposed to believe we went to the moon in 1969 and somehow we just stopped going, and the technology hasn't progressed. And it's like when you just think about it, it's all ridiculous and makes no sense. Well, it's when you understand this, it makes perfect sense, and everything makes perfect sense. But the step, people have to be willing to think outside of the programmed box that we're handed, as if, hey, this is reality, this is all there is. And then you don't ever question it or be like, well, what if it's not? Or let me look at other sources, or listen to people who are like these secret space program whistleblowers. If people would start listening to them and taking them seriously, even no matter how fantastical or crazy it sounds. The only reason things sound crazy to people is because it's outside of our programming. That's literally it. Nothing is inherently crazy or whatever. It's just people's belief systems that we're programmed with.
Oh yeah, and if it's not in the school systems, I mean, I'm surprised people are coming from backgrounds of being more rebellious. I mean, there's not that many that have seen through the programming or wasn't willing to just memorize stuff and regurgitate it like it's the only truth. I definitely been exploring all this like from a very early age, and just really just looking at all this like I can't sit still in class. I don't want to do but I have a learning disability, and all these projections of those that think outside of the box being sort of laughable to those that might be playing by the rules. And I'm just surprised at how many people are buying into the pandemic, because it's the same kind of tactic where there's a much larger picture there. And I just kind of want to talk real quick, and I hope I didn't cut you off, and finish your thought if I did.
No,
just other trying to rewrite history as well. And this is something very personal to me, because for Eisenhower to be blamed for the ET treaties, which absolutely he didn't sign, it was done behind his back. These treaties had been in the works since the 1930s, and Truman was mostly responsible for the treaties with ETs and gaining this technology to be able to mess with us. But then they've been able to rewrite history to where we're looking at the wrong people and blaming the wrong people. And people are going to learn real quick, because I get a lot of negative comments about Eisenhower, that he set up the Earth Alliance and the White Hats and Ike's Force, the USMC Special Section, to counteract all this dark stuff. And there's evidence and proof of that I'm going to be able to bring forward. And so maybe, people want to think twice before they start to lay blame, because this is the way they do it. They make the good guys look bad. And that's another tactic. So I don't know if you guys want to talk about that. We don't have to talk about Eisenhower, but that's just a perfect example of somebody being misrepresented, because they have time travel technology. They're able to change the way we relate to our history while blocking our galactic history and keeping us from that kind of knowledge. So go ahead, Aaron.
Galactic, you nailed it. They block us from our galactic history and our greater heritage because if we understand that, then that, again, it ruins the whole control system. They have to keep us dumbed down, ignorant, false history, false idea of who we are, what reality is, everything, every aspect of everything. They lie to us to keep us in a false reality that they can control and manipulate and feed off of us. Basically just watch David Icke. It's everything he talks about. He just kind of lays out everything. And so many others, obviously yourself, but it's people, the only reason people don't understand that is because everything we've been taught and programmed with is from these very people that run these systems, that have infiltrated these systems, and they're the ones giving us our information. So it's like this vicious circle that humanity gets stuck in, that we get stuck in. We think reality is something, but the only reason we think that is because we're programmed to think it a certain way.
Well, we're just born into it.
We're born into but to get out of that, you have to start thinking for yourself and start questioning things. Questioning is like the seed. It's like the most important thing you can do. And what are we taught, though, from day one? We're taught to not question authority. authority is right and that's it, don't question it. Or, you know, we have all these negative consequences. We're programmed from early age with punishment for questioning authority and going against authority and rebelling and all those things. Well, there's a reason for that. It's so you're programmed deeply to never ever do that, to never step outside the lines, never think outside the box or question authority. Well, that's exactly what we need to be doing to get outside of this control system. And
and questioning authority, questioning things, and also when it comes down to this information, maintaining an open mind and flexibility, and being careful of fixed beliefs so that we can stay fluid enough and flexible enough when we might discover that there has been disinfo, and you know, we have to just be very, you know, careful and flexible, and that's, you guys do it so brilliantly. And Aaron, it looks like you were wanting to share some, or Tyler, some thoughts about all that.
Yeah, well, one thing about understanding all this is you no longer have to, because here's what happens whenever you're unaware of all this stuff, people are walking around like, I don't understand why they're doing this. Why would they do this? Like, you don't have, once you get the way they operate, you don't ask yourself that question anymore. That's step one. Like,
obvious.
Yeah, so you totally see through everything. You're just like, every single move they make on around every corner is all designed. It's all orchestrated specifically to fit their agenda and whatever, everything Aaron just said. So you no longer look at things and like, God, why are they doing that? Because we know why. We know why. It's all bullshit. And then going back,
the same. I remember back when I was watching David Icke a lot back in the day. I remember him saying he had somebody tell him, like, man, you just see conspiracies everywhere, don't you? And he's like, no, I see the same conspiracy, the same group, the same agenda, the one body of that pop up all over the place everywhere. And once you, like you said, once you understand the bigger picture of what that is, it shows up everywhere, and then it becomes so obvious, like plain as day. It's like the blinders come off,
right?
And then it's just obvious. It's like walking outside and looking at the sky. You see it, you just see it. That's why when the pandemic started, from day one, I knew exactly what it was and what the agenda was with that, and who was
Same thing.
You know,
It's the same
didn't
thing.
have to question.
Yeah,
it's like it's
psyops to fit the times. It's like, and how to leverage historical trauma too, and that's why they're pulling out like all this stuff connected to, you know, race wars and you know, and dividing people based in, if you don't go with maybe the leftist kind of thinking, oh, you must be a terrorist or a racist. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I can't believe people are falling for it, but it's like they're master of disguises, and they're just hiding behind different labels. No different than what we saw in Nazi Germany, except it's a different kind of war on consciousness, and it's a different sort of reason for wanting to take people to maybe camps, for not complying to something connected to this pandemic, versus what it was in that era, which was a completely different kind of psyops that caused consent with a huge portion of the population that were believing in the ideologies, the belief systems of like Hitler, before they realized, wow, it's a lot worse than we thought, connected to the, you know, Holocaust, where people don't realize that this pandemic, or those authority people that are looking like they care about us, are actually tricking us to kill us off and to screw us over.
The biggest the biggest conspiracy theory of actually, I just saw this online. The number one conspiracy theory of 2021 was that Big Pharma cares about us.
Cares about our health and well-being.
Cares about our health, you know.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Where did anybody like ever really, I mean, I'm surprised a lot of people that are supposedly higher consciousness or doing shamanic work or energy healing, that they're supporting this and they're posting about the jab that I mean, I won't go into all that, but I'm just sort of surprised that the healers, so-called healers or herbalists out there, but I'm not like into any judgment on people that make that choice, because I know that that's part of the conquer and divide, and I really want to hold space that no matter what a person has decided, that there's an override frequency which will help to counteract the negative effects of these things, and all dark weaponry will be neutralized as long as we can stay in the vibration of love and truth and unity consciousness without falling into like any kind of judgment or allowing ourselves to be pit against each other because of our choices. And I just want to note something, because I did a show yesterday, and real quick, I don't mean to insert this, you guys, but like I'm smoking this herbal blend, and everybody not everybody, but so many people are like, oh, Laura's smoking a joint and she's so stoned and she can't. And I just want to point out, it's an herbal blend. It's got mugwort and mullein in it, and calendula. So anybody who thought that was a joint, I just want to point out that it wasn't. So, be careful of projections, everybody. And like, let's
don't
be more
assume
mature
things.
and supportive to each other, and like listen to the content instead of trying to find faults and something to pick on. Because, well, like, aren't you finding that there's a lot of immaturity in the mental?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. That's just it too. So we have it. That's just it. As soon as we post a video, everybody in the comments sections is a know-it-all, and they're
we get that
right.
kind of stuff all the time.
And everyone is a know-it-all. And then what happens is, we don't just have the mainstream media programming. We have alternative programming too from different they're all within the truth movement. And what I see is people
have like one narrative they're solidified, right, and like this is the truth, and anything outside of that they attack.
Well, let me finish. Like, knowledge is becoming to me, some people, knowledge is just them parroting their own programming. It doesn't mean that it's the absolute truth. Like I see people coming in and say, well, so-and-so said this is happening, and this person verified it. So that means it must be true. But then when you go and actually look at where they got the sources, neither one of them actually verified it. It was just presented as a question or opinion, but people have a way of spinning things into a fact when that's actually not the case. And then this is how things get so muddy and messy. And we see this everywhere. And then you have the immaturity because everyone starts pointing fingers at each other. Like this whole movement has become a finger pointing frenzy. For some, everyone wants to believe that their narrative is the right one, because we don't really know the ultimate truth. And when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter. We're just trying to let people know that what we're seeing isn't the truth. And what the actual truth is the ongoing journey. And will we ever find the truth in this lifetime? No. No, I don't even know if you will in the next lifetime either. We don't know ultimately what's going on, but we can figure, we can just do our best to navigate and learn the lessons we're here to learn and do what we're supposed to do while we're here. And by exposing this stuff, it's helping people understand and tap into why they're here. And that's, I think, the biggest thing.
And I think when we live in the truth frequency, or we're true to ourselves and we're being authentic, we're not so threatened by difference of opinions when it comes to what narrative people are attached to. And we're a little bit more open to being a part of a greater discussion, so we can like lay it all out on the table and have mature discussions about it instead of this battling. Because I think everything is possible, and a lot of these narratives are true, but there's always sort of a dark underbelly of where that truth is distorted just enough to create maybe an attachment. Because I think people don't realize, if they're fighting for their narrative, there's a certain unconscious insecurity that makes them very combative and very defensive and very and I think it comes from a greater insecurity, because truth doesn't need believers. It stands on its own. Is the people that maybe are uncertain about the truth that they're steering that tend to be a lot more negative and a lot more difficult to talk to and get along with. I think because there's a fundamental unconscious insecurity, because they're not really attached to a truth that is empowering, and therefore they succumb to these lower sort of behaviors. Because if they're very confident about it and standing strong in it, I think they'd be a lot more respectful, a lot more mature, and a lot more open to being a part of a greater discussion while presenting, the facts that can maybe awaken a certain person to have the flexibility and open mind without being threatened if they don't. And that's something I think that shows in negative behavior, that there's an unconscious insecurity. Anyway, go ahead, Aaron. And then we'll kind of wrap it up, talk about the conference and anything that we didn't share that you guys want to mention. And I know I'm kind of talking a lot in this interview. I can't help it because I love talking to you guys, but go ahead, Aaron.
No, it's amazing. Yeah, exactly. It's just ego based. That's all it is. It's people that their egos are so tied to a certain narrative, a certain truth, a certain thing, and anything outside of that is like a threat to their ego. So they start attacking people and, oh no, this is the truth, that's bullshit, and yeah, you see it in our community a lot, unfortunately. And then obviously that's what like the world the mainstream media programs based on that. So people never ever question their own beliefs because their egos are so attached to it, and then everything outside of that's a threat to their identity and all that. So it's the same thing, unfortunately. So yeah, getting out of your ego, understanding the fact that it doesn't matter, like information is information, and we're all one, and that's what matters. And what matters is living from your true self in your heart. And you can say, I think this is most likely true, or this is what I resonate with. But as soon as you start trying to force that on other people or attack people for having different information or whatever, that's where you're getting way, way off track. And unfortunately, we're seeing supposed leaders in the community that are basically making it their main kind of thing to do that, which is mind-boggling to me. And it's like, these are people that set themselves up as leaders in the community, and most of what they're doing is attacking other people and attacking information that they view as, in their mind, as like BS or whatever. And
well, it's another form of bullying, really.
It is, absolutely.
And it's unfair. And you don't, if you're doing that, you subconsciously are threatened by something. And that's what it is.
It's because they're threatened. Exactly.
Yeah, you don't feel the need to call other people out and expose other people who are all working for a common goal. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're empowered, you're not threatened by anything. And then therefore you don't need to attack people or attack information.
And there's also the whole build yourself up by stepping on the backs of others. Then that's another subconscious, method of reaching your goal. Like, you don't understand, people don't even understand that they're doing it sometimes. But by pointing fingers and calling other people out to build yourself up, that's exactly what happens. And we've seen this goes all the way back to childhood. This is where bullies, people are bullied because obviously, and then you go back to that person's life at home. You never know what these people have gone through to make them that way. So we have to be understanding at the same time. Like, it's not like we're trying to, it's very confusing, but it's worthy to note and pay attention and be aware.
Oh, totally. And it's important that people are transparent. I mean, it's just like in relationships. I mean, I think a lot of us have been through a lot of trauma or dealt with some kind of bully in our life, or some sort of abusive behavior from an authority figure. Or, I mean, I think trauma, none of us have really escaped it. The degrees of it are a little bit different, but if we can be more transparent, where a person can say, I feel very triggered. This is really bringing up a lot for me. I'm not feeling at my best, and I just want to kind of retaliate and attack. If people could be more honest, it's like in a partnership. If you're triggered, it might not have anything to do with the person that you're talking to. It might have to do with an ex that you're being reminded of, or a trauma from the past. But if we act out and do the shame, blame, victim game and point fingers at a person that's not responsible for it, that's not going to help the relationship. But if we can say, hey, I feel really triggered. This is reminding me of like abusive behavior from an ex of mine. It's really making me angry, and I kind of want to be a jerk, but I want to warn you that this is what's coming up for me. That transparency is going to create more understanding and healing, and that's what we want. It's not about like, oh, you guys are, whoever's doing it are so immature, or like, it's like, how can we assist you in healing this and helping each other rehabilitate through transparency and honesty, so that we can grow instead of act out these negative behavior patterns. Because we're not all going to respond to trauma in the same way, but how can we break, the cycle? Because it makes it very, very difficult. It's like, just real quick, those that smear others publicly because they might not be in agreement. And I don't even care, if the person's controlled opposition. I think it's not wise at all to publicly smear somebody. I think it's better to have these kind of private conversations so that we can understand, or unplug from maybe being supportive of those individuals that we question, without smearing them and like confusing the community and making them feel like they have to choose a side, like we see with divorced couples, like where you feel torn. And I'm just really surprised too, like an astrologer, I won't mention his name, is like smearing me publicly. He doesn't know me. I doubt he's really looked at my research, but this is somebody who has a huge following, and he's doing videos absolutely tearing me to shreds. And I just
Really?
am so surprised. And I just wish people could be more transparent. Like if you're
Well,
hurting or you feel threatened, why don't you admit it instead of being a schmuck?
well, you know, that's what we see.
Yeah.
Everyone is everyone will say everyone's a keyboard warrior. You know, they'll say things online that they would never say to somebody in person, and that's
Yeah.
just the reality of it.
Because it's
Uh,
easy.
it's easy.
It's too easy. Yeah.
That's why actually these conferences are a great thing, because you're getting everybody together. And you know, sometimes like especially these whistleblowers, people, they're always challenging them, always calling them out, always skeptical, you know, this guy's lying, this whatever. But if you actually take the time, you really want to figure this stuff out, being around these people, meeting them in person, feeling their energy, having conversations with them, that is the way to handle this. Not just sitting on your couch, you know, in a comment section, calling everybody out that you've never met. You have no idea who they are. You know, people think they know what's going on in space when I guarantee they have no idea what's even going on in their own neighborhood. And it's just, you know, nobody really knows what's going on. It's just everybody wants to be a know-it-all, and there's some. It's just a personality flaws is what it all stems down to. But
that's where we're being played, you know, in the personality matrix. It's that if we could break that, then we wouldn't be so manipulated, because as long as we're in a low vibration and frequency, the AI can assimilate into the body, because a person is in that kind of lower vibration. AI cannot penetrate a person of a high frequency of truth and love. I didn't mean to cut you off if I did, Tyler, but
no, I was just saying, like, I think the key is getting together with people right now. We're so socially distanced right now, really. As far as, you know, this whole part of this agenda is to keep us all isolated and separate from each other, so we don't go out and connect and communicate and go in nature. So I think like uniting and spending time with real people again, and you know, you're going to be so immersed in that energy, you're not going to be worried about what's happening online. You know, right now everyone has nothing better to do. You know, they're looking for stuff to talk about. They're, you know, sometimes some of these things just come out of pure boredom. If you can distract yourself with situations that don't allow you to have to focus on the internet, the online world so much, that's how we're going to move on. It's, you know, it's great. It's a great tool, but it's also a weapon, like it's being used against us, you know, with the whole whatever censorship and all that stuff. But yeah, I think getting together is the most important thing we can do.
I just love the way you guys operate. I love like your integrity. I love that you do this podcast and you're sharing this kind of information coming from the sort of intention and like love and maturity and integrity that you hold. I mean, I could just go off and probably be redundant and like just how much I could just sit here and just compliment you for the next bit of time. But I know it's probably a good idea to close. If there's anything that we didn't talk about that you guys want to mention about some of the topics we brought to light, by all means, share. And we'll kind of just hear from both of you about this upcoming conference and what the dates are. And I'll put all your links and your YouTube channel so that you guys can subscribe to this amazing podcast. And this podcast really needs to grow. It needs to reach more people. I think it's one of the best podcasts out there. And I just love and appreciate you guys so much. So go ahead. I don't know who wants to go first. Just any closing thoughts, anything that you weren't able to share maybe. Yeah, something about the conference. And you guys give me a little bit of time to get all the links in. I'll have everything up soon after I post this, but be a little bit patient because sometimes people notice in the description that not everything's there just right away, but I'll get it up as soon as possible. So go ahead, Tyler, any closing thoughts and tell us about the conference?
Well, let me ask you a question. What are you, why are you excited about the conference? I know you've been promoting it, and thank you for that. And we're all looking forward to it. So what are you most excited about?
Well, I have not been to a in-person conference for a while. Actually, I did go to Shasta last August. I believe it was August.
Yep.
But
I was there.
Not gone to, you're right. I have not gone to a lot of events, and there's some that I've needed to cancel. I have a real hard time with flying right now. I've already been kicked off 2 airlines, and I wasn't even being like belligerent or terrible. I was just kind of red pilling the people around me who were being kind of loud, and we weren't covering our noses, whatever. And I was just like, you know what? And then they're like, you're not allowed to fly with us anymore. I'm like, good, you know,
Oh, wow.
So I just kind of like been avoiding airports, and I'll probably like end up driving there. And I know I'm rambling and going off on a tangent here, but why I'm excited is, first off, because you guys are hosting it. Second off, there's quite a number of people that you've invited that I've never met in person. And there's a lot of people you've invited that I just consider great friends, like Jermaine. I mean, we're great buddies. We're great friends in all this. And I've interviewed Rebecca Rose a few times. I'm in touch with Dan Cooper, and he's really helping me to understand a lot of stuff that has gone on, particularly in the Eisenhower administration, and just very shocking, eye-opening things. So he might be there. And just everybody, like Heidi Pop's going to be there. Matthew Mornian's going to be there. I mean, it's just such a great blend of individuals, and the kind of information that's going to come forth is, to me, where the full disclosure is happening. Nobody in this group of individuals that you've brought forth ever hold back. None of them seem nefarious or like controlled opposition. I'm just thrilled. This is not one that I want to miss, and I'll get there no matter what, even if I have to start walking a month in advance. And I'm willing to try and fly and like see how that goes. It's not that long of a flight, but I guess that's a long answer. I think you've just brought together an incredible mixture of people, and it's an incredible reunion. Just to be there in person, like you said, it's amazing to be in people's, energy. And I just think so much is going to come to the surface. A lot of dots are going to connect, and it's really worth, attending, everybody, because it's going to give us what we need on a knowledge level to be able to navigate things. And remember, just take what resonates and leave the rest. Allow yourself to have the activation so you can stand in your own truth and open up your field to things that have been hidden from the public for too long. Mm-hmm. So there's my long answer. I didn't mean to share all that travel.
No, that was beautiful.
That was amazing.
That was absolutely beautiful. Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's, self-promoting isn't always that fun. So it's nice to hear somebody else's actual thoughts about what we're trying to do and what we're putting together. So thank you for all that. And
thank you.
Yeah.
And it's just, the prices are decent. I mean, I just the location, and I'm so pumped. So yeah, I don't know if you wanted to share any more before we go to you, Aaron.
Yeah, real quick, just I wanted to add, Tony Rodriguez is also going to be there, and
oh man, I know, I forgot to say his name, and he's just, oh my goodness, Tony.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I think he's he's stepping into his power, I should say, right now. I feel like I've watched him grow since he started coming forward until now, and it's been amazing. And his book is incredible, and it's impacting people around all over the world right now. So we're super honored to have him. Johann Fritz and his wife Jody, they have an incredible testimony together. They have memories of each other in the programs, and what they're doing now to help people remember in their own sessions and stuff like that is great. And then we have like Suzanne Spooner and Mark Dimizio. I don't know if you know about them, but Suzanne is a QHHT hypnotherapist who's been helping Mark his entire time while he's going through his recalls. And, I don't know how many sessions they've done together, but she's got to see firsthand how this process looks, watching a guy going from the matrix, there's just a normal guy, into the realization that he's been used in these programs. And it's going to be interesting to see how that manifests. And like you said, Rebecca Rose and Kate Buckley is going to be there. She's a hypnotherapist also. And I know her thing is letting people know how to do it safely, because there are ways to hypnotize someone that can be dangerous, and you can ask leading questions that bring out false information if it's not done right, and how to penetrate those screen memories. So we really don't just want to cover the program, but also the process of remembering, and then the healing process on top of that. And then there's going to be live music. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah,
so
can't wait.
I didn't mention Tony too, because I mean, he's a really great friend, and that book he just came out with, and it's incredible. What a tremendous gift it is for people to recall these kind of memories. And again, like you mentioned earlier, people like Kathy O'Brien, people like Tony, people, the list is too long of people that have been able to overcome what they've gone through. To me, is like the great leadership and light and strength of this world. If they can heal and overcome what they went through, it's a lot of hope for the rest of humanity in overcoming the mind control and the assaults and the dark weapons. Because, basically it started in these projects, but really the greater project is to do it to the whole of humanity, to target the whole of humanity. these are just where they really started with the experiments and using people as guinea pigs to figure out how they could impact the whole globe in order to create this new world order. So go ahead, Aaron, what are your final thoughts, and tell us what your thoughts are about the conference and anything that you wanted to share that you might not have shared in this broadcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for your kind words, and I can't wait for the conference. It's going to be amazing. And it's always amazing just gathering with the people in this community and soul family, and all of us on the same wavelength and in person rather than just online. It's a whole nother experience, and it's how it should be. So I always look forward to conferences, but especially this one, because we have so many friends in the community that are going to be there, including a lot of the speakers and yourself, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. But yeah, we're living in very interesting and exciting times right now, and I truly believe it's the most amazing time to be alive on the planet ever, and I mean that.
Well, we're living through history. I mean,
yeah, like what's happening now, I don't think in the with these circumstances, I don't think it's ever happened on the planet. And it's kind of like we're at this tipping point where it's either the dark wins or the planet dies or whatever, or this very dark future, or it's going to be the most amazing future we can't even possibly imagine. And I truly believe it's the latter. I believe we are on that timeline. It's inevitable. I think we have so many forces and beings here helping to make sure we get through this and stay on that timeline. But they're not doing everything for us. We have to step into our power and our sovereignty, and that's done on an individual level, but it ends up manifesting collectively. So it's up to each of us to step into your power, your sovereignty, be your own savior. Nothing outside of you is going to save you. Do not give your power away to anyone or anything outside of you, and be the change you want to see. Live from your heart and just express from there, and come together and unite, and that's what it's all about. So forget all the other nonsense that's a distraction, and it's just only serving to create fear or division, because that's all coming from the dark, and that's all used to keep us held down. So
right.
Anything that's coming from that place, and this is where it takes a lot of discernment and a lot of awareness to constantly be aware of, where am I living from? Is it from that space of fear and giving my power away to something outside of me, or is it coming from love and living from that space and being sovereign? So
yeah,
beautiful. Yeah,
beautiful.
And
that's my message.
I love it. And that's where it's at, because we are then connected to the organic ascension signals instead of the AI signals. To me, that's the override frequency that keeps us from being manipulated by these dark technologies and the way they utilize like harmonics and things in the media and entertainment industry to keep us in that program, because we're being hit from every angle. But I mean, the choice is we can divorce ourselves from the imposters. We can get out of those abusive relationships with narcissists. And on a micro level, we can do that. So of course, if we take that stand on a micro level, we're achieving it on a macro level, and we are empowering that timeline as guardians of the organic ascension process. And we can help activate people out of, being in that matrix web that really is targeting ego and the personality matrix, where it's time to step into the soul, which is the 5D, which means that we speak words that are activating and healing towards others instead of regurgitating the mind viruses that keep us, like in this net. And we can bust through these frequency fences with this kind of vibration. That's what my talks are about, is what our junk DNA truly is, what we're really, really made of, and how these dark technologies are trying to keep us from these activations, which nothing can stop if we choose to stand in alignment and we devote ourselves and we trust ourselves that we can experience true love and get out of this web of being in relationship to imposters, controllers, narcissists, and manipulators. We have to do that in our own life to be healthy and whole, and we're going to do it as a collective. So that's kind of my final thoughts.
Beautiful. Yeah, we want to move into a future. Well, we don't want things to go back to normal. The normal was the illusion.
Yeah.
So we want to move into a future, a new reality that's unrecognizable in a good way. Yes. And that's what I think, we just want to create that and focus on that, create a world that's totally opposite of what we're seeing online and on social media and through the mainstream. Create your own reality. And that's just where the focus needs to be. We can't just expose them, but we also need to focus on what we want to see.
Exactly. And just want to say real quick that, this grooming process and indoctrination process has been going on since 1947, really, as far as in this country, and how that really spread itself out via Project Paperclip and Mockingbird and all these other projects and MK Ultra projects, that people have really been groomed to accept this final showdown of forces where this pandemic has kind of come in, that, they, like you said, everything was an illusion, and kind of prepping people to be able to accept consenting to a new world order through these manipulative tactics. And we simply just have to say no and not consent. So I know we could continue to talk, but Aaron, did you have anything final you want to say? And Tyler, and that you guys want to kind of close the show? And what's the name of your YouTube channel? I know I'll post it, but just again, any final thoughts? I get really excited talking to you guys, and I'm very amped. I'm trying to cut down on the coffee, but
it's all right. Thank you. Nice. You can find us at Journey to Truth podcast on YouTube, Rumble, iTunes. We're on almost every audio platform there is, except for Spotify. They kicked us off, but
Spotify deleted this.
So just Journey to Truth podcast. You can probably Google it, but we still have our
website, journeytotruthpodcast.com. If you can find everything on our website too. So.
And then for the conference, if you want to grab tickets, secretspaceconference.info. All the information is there. I try to answer as many questions as possible on there. So if you do have a question, you can reach out to us, email us, journeytotruthpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll be happy to answer your questions. And we look forward to seeing you all there.
Yay. That's awesome. Anything else, Aaron? And we'll say goodbye.
Just stay in love, stay sovereign, stay out of fear, and
read your shirt. We are the ones we've been waiting for.
We are the ones we've been waiting for. My shirt.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's the message right there.
Yep, absolutely. And thank you so much, you guys, for all that you do. I look forward to seeing you in person. Thanks for all the wonderful words that you share, and just all the brilliance and good information that you bring to the table, while really maintaining the right energetic to really, help people to maybe kind of match that, find that neutrality, stand in your truth. And I love the name. It's so what it's all about, Journey to Truth. And thanks for guiding the journey and holding that light. Anyway, thanks guys.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Okay, sure. See ya.